Hospitalized in critical condition after setting himself on fire outside the Israeli embassy in Washington. Authorities are describing his injuries as life-threatening. Officers with the U.S. Secret Service put the fire out, and police searched a nearby vehicle for explosives.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
A horrifying example of the media and social media brainwashing going on by the woke left. A 25-year-old San Antonio man, and he's not in critical condition. He died shortly thereafter. Aaron Bushnell, who was an active duty member of the Air Force, set himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy while yelling "Free Palestine." Now, if you go to Twitter, you go to Instagram, you go to Facebook, people are just applauding it and celebrating it and sending this message. But of course, when Hamas was offered the opportunity to actually have a ceasefire, right? The same guys in Gaza who broke a ceasefire back on October 7th, well, they declined. You know, said, hey, release the hostages, we'll release some Gazans that we've had detained, and we will go back to peace and have a ceasefire. Hamas said no, again, just like they've been saying for decades. We'd rather have war and death, right? This is insanity. And someone lighting themselves on fire and burning themselves to death is not protest. It's not something to be celebrated. It's a horrifying tragedy. It's evidence of mental illness, and what his mental illness led him to is to focus on what's going on in Gaza. Do I want the bombing campaign to stop? Of course I do. Do I want there to be a ceasefire? Of course I do. Do I want radical Islamists to seek to advocate for the destruction of Israel? Of course I do. Do I want the Israeli women and children who are hostages and being raped by evil, monstrous terrorists? Of course I do. Do I want people unfairly held in Israeli jails to be released? Of course I do. I'd like to see peace. But what I really don't want is this radicalized, crazy terrorism nonsense to come and bring itself to these United States. I don't want the United States involved in any foreign wars. I'm tired of our constant sense of warmongering, but I really want social media and the mainstream media and you to start having honest conversations about who the intolerant ones are in the Middle East and what the problem is. But damn it, people celebrating this craziness, they're insane.
I believe that anyone who is celebrating a man committing suicide is someone who is not mentally and psychologically stable themselves. It is unfortunate, extremely tragic that he believed in his mind the greatest act of protest was to take his own life when life is sacred. This was a United States serviceman, active duty, in uniform, when he set himself ablaze.
Did you watch that video?
And yeah.
It's tough to watch.
And he was yelling "Free Palestine" as he was burning. I too agree that with this gentleman, Palestine should be freed. I agree there should be a ceasefire. I also agree that those applauding this man's act of suicide are not helping the situation. We have too many young men and women who are choosing suicide because of depression, disappointment, bullying, etc. And we should never applaud and promote suicide as an alternative option to express a point. But I would also say that Israel is guilty of committing genocide in Palestine. She claims she's at war with Hamas, but she's not killing Hamas. She's killed over 30,000 Palestinian citizens, and the majority have been children. There have been videos that have been released that even the Biden administration had to comment on. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu is speaking to his administration in a secret meeting saying, we don't want a two-state solution and we don't care what America thinks. That's on video of Benjamin Netanyahu. A second video came out of Benjamin Netanyahu sitting with his family, said, we control America. They're on our payroll. We don't care what they think. That's the words of the sitting prime minister, sitting president of Israel.
Well, in fairness, the same prime minister is under indictment and being prosecuted by the Israeli government right now. And there are a great many things that Benjamin Netanyahu has done that I disagree with. But it seems you only have criticism for Netanyahu because, in fact, Israel itself has offered a two-state solution, I think, at least 9 times since 1948, and it's been rejected by the radical Islamists every time. And their rejection is not a mere rejection. They always reject it and they call for a complete decimation of Israel. You yourself have called for a complete
That's a
decimation.
lie.
That's not a lie.
That's an absolute
I know
lie.
you've apologized and recanted
I never
but
said that.
you have talked
I
about
never
from
said
the
that.
river to the sea
I
and
never said that.
eliminating Israel.
I never
right?
said that.
Okay, well, we can agree to
Oh,
disagree.
hell yeah, we're gonna disagree, 'cause I
So
never
you think
said that.
Israel has a right to exist?
I believe Israel has a right to exist because if God didn't want it to exist, it wouldn't exist.
Okay.
Israel exists by God's permission.
Okay, and you called
the
Israel-
problem is in
Israel-
the Middle East, here's the problem. How they went about establishing Israel is the problem. They wanted to give the Israelis, well, not the Israelis, but the Jewish people a homeland after the Holocaust in Germany. We understood that something should be done for them. 6 million lives were lost. But why is it they didn't establish them a homeland in Germany where the Holocaust took place? Why were they allowed to take a religious edict and go back into the Holy Land and take a whole nother people's land from them? That's wrong.
Well, I mean, if you want to just reduce everybody to their religion, the Holy Land was taken from the Jews originally, and they were there for thousands of years. But let's not even talk about that. Let's talk about the reality that the problem in the Middle East right now is the radical Islamists. Just weekend before last in Burkina Faso, you had 50 Christian parishioners in church during their service. Is raided by radical Islamists who slaughtered them while they sleep. While they practice their
and
faith.
every so-called Muslim that was a part of that terrorist group should be put to death. Should be put to death.
But the problem is, it is the countries that are dominated by the Islamic faith in the Middle East that are radically intolerant
Because we've had
Jews
white Christians
and
in
of
America do the
Christians.
same thing.
Okay, no, you haven't.
Yes, we have.
Okay, recently?
You forgot about the Oklahoma
Okay.
bombing?
Okay, the
What about the
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
bombing was one
Wait.
terrorist.
What about
not
the
government
church shooting in
militia
South
killing
Carolina?
people? Oh yeah,
What
and
about that?
he's getting put
And
to
he
death,
went in
right?
church and killed them.
But I'm talking about
White
the
people in
government
America.
doing it, right? You want to take anecdotal incidents, but the truth
No, you
is,
wanna highlight
we need
individual
You
crimes
want it, and
that
I'm
take
not
place
talking about
also in
it. I'm talking
America.
about government crimes and radical Islamist terror.
What
and
about
it's
the
bull
government
crap.
crimes in America
We
against
shouldn't be
black people?
celebrating this terror.